Hello, people of the world. It's Phil Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a special guest. Everyone's a special guest. I'm joined by my fraternity brother, Frank Bonner. Now, he's actually been a guest of my podcast many moons ago, which I'll probably even put in the show notes. We've done this like pre-pandemic, being creative. This gentleman served in the military, super creative, and we were talking about balancing creativity in other spaces. And you can check that podcast out. But we're back now to discuss something near and dear to our heart. Is about our fraternity. Yes, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
We're both very passionate brothers about our fraternity and making sure that we stay active. But one of the things that I find most fascinating, believe it or not, is how the 80-20 rule permeates every single organization. And I'm telling you, real talk, like military, you know, those group projects that you had back in college, you have like 4 people and it's only 2 people really working hard to get that thing. Doesn't matter what you do, 20% of people are doing 80% of the work in every single organization that you're looking at. And realistic today is just a conversation that we can have just to explore maybe some hypothesis. Newsflash, we did a little bit of research before we came into this interview today. But we have some hypothesis about, you know, reclamation and just people staying active and engaged in terms of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Here's a thought, guys. No matter, think to your job right now, the thing that you do for a living that pays your rent, pays your mortgage, does all that good stuff. Could you say that the 80-20 rule does not apply? And for those that are not initiated, the 80-20 rule is this: 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people in the organization. And oddly enough, I believe that our fraternity is no different. There's about 20% of us that are doing about 80% of the work.
The 20% of the people doing the work, do you think that that's what burns them out and they stop being active? Or do you think that just 80% of people drop off?
So what we did was we looked at reclamation and we said, hey, reclamation is possibly an issue because we believe that going into this particular project that maybe brothers aren't coming back to Alpha at some phase. And we wanted to kind of explore that and get a better idea. So what we decided to do was start with our hypothesis, identify some facts, leave a little bit of area and a space for a conversation. What we did for that piece is we actually interviewed a number of brothers to get their opinions on some of the questions that we had. And then lastly, we hope to walk away with some sort of an opinion that we could give to some constructive party, the fraternity, our brothers, our leadership, FACAPAF, or at any different given level. And you as a viewer, if you're not associated with a fraternity or whatsoever, maybe give you some ideas of how you can combat that 80-20 rule. And that's the direction we want to handle, or we want to go with the conversation today. Phil, what was your hypothesis walking into this project as we talked?
I was trying to remember it, but I will say he's going to play the clip.
Hey listeners, this is Brother Bonner, aka King Siri. Since Phil has allowed me to take over his podcast for a moment, I might as well let you know that I'm going to play narrator here to help bridge some of the more complicated parts of our conversation. Here we have a recording regarding Phil's thoughts on what his hypothesis was. Take a listen.
You know, one of my thoughts is that life gets in the way, right? As a young person graduating undergrad and going to the real world, you know, there's bills, unexpected pay, navigating professional spaces that are new to you, that gets in the way. As a mid-career professional, you know, you have more bills and you have family and you have other things that you get it done. Time is a limited commodity and that gets in the way. And so I think for brothers of Alpha to be re-engaged, my hypothesis is I think that Alpha has not presented a reason that contradicts the narrative that they're receiving from the world. Right, that they're so busy that they have no time, but they don't, you know, with a little bit of time, how can they contribute to it? That they have no money, but then Alpha's so expensive. And so all these rationales get in the way. And I think that a lot of brothers are not feeling that. They're not feeling that this is worth their time, effort, money.
So as I hear you talk a little bit about what your hypothesis was walking into this, you're kind of saying life be life and a lot of stuff happens, a lot of things go on, and they take a higher priority than maybe just being a member of the fraternity, a member of the organization, attending meetings, and all the other requirements that come along with being a member of a D9 organization. That's what I kind of got. And financially, you talked about that, which is part of my hypothesis. I walked into this thing. Financially, there is a little bit of a burden that comes from being a member of this organization. And it's a challenge with everything else. As you said, life is lifing. It's a challenge to stay on top of that with lifing. Let's watch the clip and see what I said earlier.
At the beginning of this project, I believe that the real scenario is that the value proposition isn't there for reclamation and in some cases retention. There is literally no difference in value to a person who is a fully financial and actively engaged member to one who decides, hey, I'm just going to pay my dues at national and keep it going, or not pay any dues at all. I feel like there's not enough of a value proposition to keep people, one, engaged with their time. Is this worth my time? And then two, am I seeing the investment of my money? I'm going to put my money into something and I'm going to get something back out of that. And I don't think that every brother feels this way, but there's a clear line. I believe that we're going to find brothers who are like, hey, I'm a man and I gave my word. And because I gave my word, I'm going to stick to that. I made a lifetime commitment and I'm going to honor that. And then you have the line of people who are going to go a different direction at the first sign of inconvenience. And I think that the value proposition doesn't make up for both of those sets of people. The more peer group is going to be of the mindset, I need nothing else other than I gave my word to do it. I don't need much value. The value is me being a part of this. And then you'll have the other people who may have joined for some sort of reason, social, professional, to have the letters or whatever the case may be. And it just doesn't carry as much value and doesn't justify, their needs. I don't want to call them no morals, but just the idea of keeping their word isn't that big of a deal, or maybe they just don't frame it that way.
Here, let's talk a little bit about some of the facts that we found through this digging. After we got our hypothesis, we had a couple of facts that we came across in terms of the fraternity to kind of give us a level set for exactly what we're dealing with. And one of the major facts that I came across was looking at the national organization's website, that there are 200,000 registered members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. Now, I have some assumptions behind what that number is built on, but let's just say, for the purposes of this conversation, there are 200,000 people who are eligible to be active financially and with their time, temporally. So 200,000 would be the whole. And on the same national website, it also communicates that there are about 70,000 brothers who are financially active. So 70,000 versus 200,000 as a total puts us right at 35% of the whole who are active, which is not very far off of that 80-20 rule. Tell me a little bit about how you feel about those facts that I kind of gave you.
No, I think it's even lower. I mean, lower. And the reason why I say that, I mean, even nationally, very often we keep our public elections of who our general president is private to the House. But if you look on YouTube, we did it this year where they actually showed how many people voted. Did you see that, Brother Bonner?
It was wild. It was like
so
in the
if you
teens.
look at the number, it was it was like 14,000 or something like that. So that just showed me enough publicly. So we're not sharing anything that is not of the House, because that's on public platforms, that even the engagement was lower than that 30% of just people getting involved in voting, voting in our own processes. So I think that number is off. That number is lower, that we had way more brothers initiated than or active than 200,000, and it's way lower percentage. And also additionally to that hypothesis, there's understanding that I think there's a lot of brothers that have been initiated that, back in the 20s and, whatever our overall history is, just to show that, people moved on in life. So I think it's pretty low, be honest with you.
And to your point that you kind of mentioned earlier, what's our intent with this? Our intent is not to bash our beloved organization. There's going to be some haters in the comments or whatnot that's saying, man, y'all airing everybody dirty laundry. No, that's not our intent. What is our intent? Our intent is to have a difficult conversation which points to productive measures, i.e., let's talk about it. I have a couple of clips that I'll use today that talk about, hey, these types of difficulties that we're experiencing in our organization today are seen across organizations all over the U.S. right now. And so I just want to have the conversation to maybe address the way that we can become stronger as an organization.
Yeah, and yeah, let's say our disclaimer. Our disclaimer is that we are not we're not speaking on behalf of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And to your point, Brother Bonner, too, is I think that these are transferable lessons for inclusive Black spaces beyond Alpha and all the older organizations. I think these lessons of 80-20 and reclamation and retention could be applicable to the workspace. It could be applicable to the Elks. I've seen, these old organizations, Boy Scouts. You said the church. There's a lot. The community and civil engagement and organizations as a whole are at a hard spot for engagement. So, yeah, we are just using it a lens. We're doing this as a microcosm of a culture, which is Alpha. But this could be about engagement in the community as a whole, and at the wider part, and how people disengage from the community or organizations that are part of the community as a whole. And so, I love that you did that disclaimer. And hopefully these lessons are not just applicable to Alpha, but to other organizations for particularly uplifting Black people, but also just uplifting the community as well.
And enough about making people feel good. Let's get to our conversation. We'll deal with that feel bad stuff in the comments. And we were talking about, before we jumped on this conversation, facts. We got 200,000 that we're told that's the number we'll operate from today versus 70,000, putting us at 35%. Did any other facts come out? I hate to put you on the spot, but did any other facts come out in during the exploration phase of this project?
Still, as a random researcher, and I'm not gonna. I have done a couple. I've looked at a few college chapters to see in their active lineage who has transferred to alumni chapters. I can't stay on it right now. I just had the Excel spreadsheet to see where they are, but I will say anecdotally, that it's at 10%.
10%.
And I'll just say that anecdotally for those.
Now you gotta explain that. Hold up. 10%. I get it anecdotally, no big deal. 10% of what? What's the whole?
So I have the lineages of 2 undergrad chapters, which I will not disclose right now, as I don't want to. Moving
on. We're not gonna protect the feelings right now. That's not what we're doing.
No, but I took their whole lineage, right, when they chartered to the present day. Comparable chapters at both PWIs. I wanted to have comparable ones, not two large comparable public institutions.
Yep.
And just to denote, right, they both started around the same time in the 80s. And so when I pulled their full roster from their lineage, some have transferred to the Omega chapter, passed on, right? That's just what it is. But I also just wanted to see, just overall, when I said brother so-and-so, and I looked them up in our normal database, and the only thing I said was, are they good with grand organization? Not a member of do they pay grand tax, whatever, right? I will say right now we're at like 10% of those lists.
So 10% of the research looking at comparable chapters, are they currently from the 80s? Are they currently active today? The information you pulled says something around 10%.
And I just, even just to kind of say reverse engineer, I just looked at maybe, let's say, the most recent from, my time as an advisor and being active from 2017 to current, these little small, very small lines of 5 and 6 or whatever. There's probably 3 brothers.
We're talking college chapter still, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
College transitioning to alumni. And being engaged.
I get it. We got fuzzy math. We got some mysterious chapter off into the distance that has been around since the 80s, and some variation of the fuzzy logic that we put together has communicated that 10% of those people are still active today. I don't know if those numbers speak to any unique problem, except we have identified that maybe we have a problem with keeping people engaged in what we're doing to this day. Can we for this conversation, we can agree to that, right?
Yeah, and
it speaks to an issue with engagement, from a engagement to this day with people staying locked in with the org.
Yeah, and one of the interviews that we could play is Brother Taylor, a young man that is one of my colleagues at George Mason, and he actually shared one of the thoughts that he's a young man about graduating college and not finding a space and not knowing how to do it.
Let's play
And
that clip
go
right
ahead and
now.
get started over here.
Let's play the clip
So we'll
right
play
now.
that clip.
I would say most of it may come financial wise. I know that after the first year, you don't have any really financial dues per se. But I would say just figuring out like what I want to do with my life or like where to go post grad. There's always support there, but I think there's not enough support, and like it's just a lot going on, right? I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna stay with my parents again, if I'm gonna get my own place, and then how I'm gonna pay for that, how I'm gonna get my master's degree. Now I got that settled. I knew how to peak interest in an undergrad chapter, but now it's like how do you do that for a grad chapter? So just not knowing the differences between engaging in that sense, I think that's another big obstacle to do.
I'm gonna stop that clip right there because he does offer a solution what Alpha can do. We'll do that at the end. We just wanted to share that. But if you listen to that clip from Brother Taylor, he was talking about, I just graduated. I'm trying to get my life together. I got to move back home with my parents. I got these new financial bills. Just life be life and like student loans or whatnot. And also, he also shared in that clip too, like, how do I do this? Like, it's a different feel. Like, I'm not on a college campus no more. How do I introduce myself? Do I just show up? And he was, there wasn't really like a handbook guidance on how you go from college to the alumni chapter. So I think that will play a little bit of a part in this reclamation thing and drop off of some of the numbers of that college to alumni transition.
That's pretty interesting. Do you think that is more of an isolated incident? Like maybe this brother by himself is having that. Every other brother's like, hey man, I figured it out in undergrad. I figured out how to come up with this absorbent amount of money, how to balance studying, partying, having a social relationship, and everything else. At that point in time, is he just by himself?
I mean, I think about it just in general, my space in life. I didn't, similar to you, I was interested in undergrad, but it didn't work out for me. But then I didn't cross till I was 33 years old. And at that point, I've already went through grad school, got married, already kind of was in that mid phase of my life. So, I could see if I was in that same landscape, not knowing sure in what I wanted to do. And I think that age between 23 to 30s was a very transitional period for me. And then, like I said, I think I will come back. We listen to this later. I think that some of the data that I see from, as I said, those most recent lines will confer that drop off of a lot of young men really engage, trying to get themselves together in this period and just navigate that is a very difficult time. And as I said, for leading identities, I don't think organization, college fraternity is a leading identity in your young, you're trying to be a working professional or you're trying to go back to school or figure yourself out. So I don't think his situation is unique. I think it's actually more common than we think. And
I
that's
want to play devil's
something I stand
advocate
on.
here. And I don't want you to think that I truly believe some of the opinions that I'll push across right now, but I just want to, I don't want the conversation to be both two dudes agreeing with one another to get to the point. And so I want to dig into my brain and think about a portion of our audience who are like the purist, right? These are the guys who like bleed black and old gold. And they're the people who are like, I gave my word as a man that I was going to do this thing. And it was a lifetime commitment. And no matter what I came across in my lifetime, I planned that I was going to keep that particular promise. What do you think? Like, how do you think this feels to that person? Or what do you think? What do you say to the person who is thinking along the lines of, I knew it was going to be hard when I got out of college, but I made it a priority. Undergrad, you did it while maintaining the minimum GPA. You did it while keeping your girlfriend intact. You did it while, keeping that position that you had on SGA, and you did it while practicing for a big step show and 800 other different things. But you mean to tell me that when you get out of college, you're gonna sit here and tell me that maintaining a job and paying your rent was enough for you to not be able to make a chapter meeting once a month, or at least be able to make an event or two a quarter? What would you say to that based on the thought process that you kind of pushed across?
Very thoughtful question. And that's a couple of things that come to mind, right? I think that, one, kudos to you. People want to say like my life is hard, and if I can make it through, then that everyone else can. But I would challenge someone to use a real lens of empathy and say like, but did you really, think about some of the systems that you had in place and think, yeah, you gave it, but maybe experience other things. Like, let's be real empathetic. Like, you lost someone, someone died, right? Like, I think that we can really easily say, I went through a hard situation, I made it through. Why can't other people make it through? And then I try to always think like, but you know, I might have blessings that other people don't have. And I think about like, let me just take this one. We both could lose someone very significant to us in our life, but the path in which we grieve can be completely different based on, uh, my family structure, people that are around me to support me, my financial structure, um, just my set point in mental health before that person passed. And so there's too many variables to say like, oh, if I can do it, everyone can do it, right? And that's kind of a very egocentric thinking to think that like that that your way of navigating the experience should be the way that everyone else does, and not looking at it from a lens of empathy and really trying to understand rather than saying like questions like, if I could do it, they could, more so like, why couldn't they? What was the barriers they had? That's what I would challenge that person to say that like, oh yeah, I did it. I had a job. I was navigating that. I would say, okay, I would say this. What barriers did you have that that person had, or look at the barriers that were different? But also on the flip side, let's look at the resources that you had. Maybe that person, same situation, but you had a mentor that literally said, you are going to a meeting when, no matter how gung ho you are, you're going to a meeting when you become an alumni and I'm dragging you with me, right? Like, you don't know that, like, you think you did it all on your own, but you didn't know the social supports that you had. You didn't really just do it on your own. You may have had more support or mentorship or something different that that other person didn't have. And so I really try to think like, get away from this notion of if I can, everyone else can. It more so be like, if I can, how? What did I have in place that allowed me to do that? Or what didn't they have? Barrier. That what didn't they have? What resource didn't they have? Why? That's what I would say to that guy that's like, gung ho and thinks that everyone.
Continuing down this path of questioning, Phil, here's a thought process. I had some semblance of an undergrad process, or at least experience. Let's call it that. And I remember seeing people who were relatively homeless. I remember seeing people who were struggling to make financial ends meet with college. I remember seeing people maybe not having the best financial situation in terms of what they're going to eat. And here I am, a whole military dude, right? Whole military dude. My finances are different. My ambition is different. My commitment to getting the mission accomplished is different. And I saw people who were more committed to making this thing happen and prepared to take more just deal with more obstacles than maybe I was prepared to deal with in that scenario. Move past that. And I can't say that that was just one. That was like everybody that I came into contact with who wasn't me had me looking around left and right going, damn, you are committed. And I need to fix my level of commitment. Where do you say that level of commitment is like today when you start running numbers like 10%? A person who's like, I can either eat or I can save this money to make these dues. I can either study or I can spend this time learning this information. I can take this time to go do this other thing that's important. There's a feeling that people had committed at different times the crossing phase, whether it's graduate chapter or undergrad, because it's similar in the grad chapters for a short period of time, where somebody's like, I want to do this. And they're prepared to take time off of work. They're prepared to set aside time on the calendar, communicate with their spouses and say, hey, I need this time aside to make this thing happen. Where's that level of commitment after you get the letters?
Well, I'll say this too. Maybe they front loaded because I would say to those same people that were almost homeless and making anything happen, and they got in, right. But maybe like like thinking about like a track. They went all out on that sprint, but then did they burn out, pull a hammy after they finish, right? So I would say I would challenge to that person was like, yeah, they did anything and everything to get in, or like we all do. We do anything and everything to achieve, and then once you get it, like, do you have the stamina to maintain that? And I mean, some people just keep going, and some people are like, I did like maybe this is that part where I was like, I did enough to get in. I'm done. Like I'm good. I could see that being a thing too. Like you going hard in college. And I'm just saying college, but maybe like that young professional life, right? I was working 80 hours a week, as a young professional and balancing this. Nothing's going to stop me from being successful. And then once I achieved, the gas is kind of like gone, right? Like they might have front loaded. And so, I think about motivation hitting people differently. I use that. I love that example that you just said. Like, I remember, thinking about, just not even alpha, just in general, like the most high achieving people. I'm like, dang, I'm a late bloomer, right? Like, oh man, like, this person already at 30 years old, already like a CEO or something like that. But like, think about that same energy. I wonder if that 30-year-old CEO has the same energy. I've seen a lot of people that had like crazy careers really early, and then they don't want to be a lawyer by 40, and they just start, they do an entrepreneur and completely leave law after they went through very rigorous law school, all this stuff and all that, and then they get to 40 years old and they don't even want to practice law no more, right? Like I'm thinking of the same scenario of people that are just really, really high achieving, will not be stopped early, and then by the time they achieve, they're like burnt out. So I think that could be a scenario too.
You're headed down that exact same path that I kind of thought walking into this project, talking about the value exchange is off, right? If the value of the person getting something that they don't have is high, someone realizing it would take an act of me doing something very bad to lose this thing, not just not attending meetings, not just not making myself available financially to a chapter. The value exchange is off because I still get the recognition and value that there is as a brother. I actually met with a brother who had some similar thoughts in terms. We talked a little bit about the value exchange. Let's go ahead and cut to that video now.
Well, I guess it really depends on the person. I mean, a person who really doesn't care about the community service or the feeling of giving back or the smiles of, young children in their faces after you've done something, bringing baskets to their house or Christmas, those types of things. Like, if that's not of value to you, then it's no value. I think, yeah, I would say it depends on the person, because I can put value in my name being just on the roster and me being present on paper, but not being present physically. But another person could have more value on, hey, I'm showing up. Yeah, I may not be contributing, but you can't be upset with me because I'm not contributing financially, but I'm contributing my time. I mean, again, I think it is what's the value behind it. Yeah, I get to come to a chapter meeting, or I get to eat free food for once a month, but where's the financial literacy? Where's the investment opportunities? And I'm not trying to say that it's just, I'm giving to get, but yeah, I'm a member of this prestigious organization. I should be receiving more from it than just, regular chapter meetings and parties and, you know, Super Bowl nights and all that good stuff.
So in this video, XM Brother Lee talks a little bit about the value that you have from the feeling you get from those you work with in the community. And I think that the people who stick around are the people who recognize, hey, I'm going to do the work. And the true value to me is the value of doing that work. Not everyone comes into the organization with the idea of this is valuable to me. Not everybody comes on a college campus to Alpha with the thought process of, I can't wait to do community service. Some people are like, I want that jacket. I want to be black and old gold. And the community service, that's a byproduct of what I got to do to get what I need. I'm down for it. But this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking to have this social just addition to my resume. And there are those who find value in the actual work. And I think that's what we're looking at that kind of sticks around, because the work in many cases is a thing that's there in the grad chapter and the undergrad chapter. We're looking at people who really enjoy doing the work or enjoy the fellowship if it's happening in your local chapter. And those are the people who are kind of sticking around. It's kind of communicated in some of the interviews that I did. Beyond that, that's the value proposition. So think about this. I'm going to pay money to do work. Where's that value? If that's your only piece of anything that you're going to do with the organization, where is that valuable for you?
It's a hard one because thinking about is you just said it right. Like, when people say you pay for friends, and I was like, I think about it now. You're paying for service, right? You're paying to do service. But I think that for me, my response is, if you are committed to a certain cause or service, for me, the value proposition that I respond with is that Alpha is giving me a vehicle to magnify that. So for instance, you do not need Alpha to do community service, right? You don't need Alpha to get in front and do voter participation, voter engagement. But being attached to an organization has magnified something that you cared about. And so if you, value proposition wise, if you can align something that you really care about with something that a larger organization is doing, then there is a value proposition there, right? Then you do get to have fellowship with people that are like-minded individuals. And so I think sometimes if you can find that, I think that you're definitely not just paying for service. You're involved in service. That's something you want to do is magnified through this vehicle of Alpha. Yeah.
Here's a really tough conversation to your point. Why do you think people join Alpha as an undergrad? Why do you think people join Alpha as a grad chapter?
Okay.
I think they're two totally
I will say
different
this. I don't know about the
process.
undergrad, but I will say this for the alumni chapter, and this is very transparent, is that we navigate a lot of predominantly white spaces as professionals. And men need fellowship too. And it feels so good. And I'll just speak for me as an alumni brother, to just go in spaces and not be the only. I actually enjoy going to conventions, and not for the meetings and not for the meeting notes and, like the business of it, but just for the simple fact of in those spaces, looking around and seeing brothers in suits and just feeling not only feels so great. And I think that for the alumni, and we say this all the time, you're right, like you can do service and stuff, but I think the brotherhood and the fellowship for men need that just as much as boys, if we say that. And so that would be my alumni.
I'll stay right there because you're kind of at the point that I was going to get to here. Do you believe that every single alumni chapter, and sorry, I got to keep the people who are not Greek, two different types of chapters in Alpha. There's the undergrad. These are college brothers who are actively still in college and pursuing a degree. And you have alumni brothers. And these are the people who have completed their degree and maybe come to Alpha after graduating with the education. My question is, you mentioned essentially fellowship is a big key in not being the only in finding yourself inside of an alumni chapter, and that creates value for you. Do you believe that 80% of the alumni chapters are doing a great job with fellowship? Do you think that they're really fellowshipping? And sorry, I have my opinions based on some of the touring that I've done. I'm curious about your opinion.
I don't know about no numbers on that, but I think that goes to the next clip where we'll play with my brother Bobby.
Let's play the clip. Let's play the clip.
Yeah, play the clip, because I think that tails in to that, and I think that's a perfect segue.
I think that when you're trying to do a reclaiming effort, I think that one concrete strategy can be Like, for instance, let's just lay out a small event in a short frame of time. You got an event, it's a reclaiming effort. We're out at a little restaurant. We all hanging out. We out at a bar. We all hanging out. And me as a brother who you haven't seen in a while, or a brother who hasn't been around in a while, is here. That is the first step. You already got me. I'm already here. Maybe at that point we don't go straight into talking fraternity. We start talking personal. We start talking, how are you? How are you, man? Like, not even so much alpha brother. You already know I'm alpha bro, and you already know why I'm here. I'm here because I want to get back involved. So now we ain't got to talk so deep on business. Let's talk personal for a minute. Like, let me know that you care about me as a human being, and my personal will always connect me to my fraternity. And I think that might be a good technique. Is I'm already there. You already did the job of making sure I showed up. Now just connect with me as a person.
But as you can see from that clip, right, that Brother Lacey would answer that question and saying, I think we need to do a better job of being brotherly or also welcoming. Also, the word that I heard right there is seeing me, like actually seeing our brothers. And so I don't know. I think your question was like, are we doing a great job? I don't think, I can't give a percentage on it, but I think that there'll be cases of, if we were to ask brothers that have not been active, I bet we could see a lot of scenarios similar to that, where brothers are not seen as brothers because they're not paying, or they're not seen as brothers because they're not attending chapter meetings, when in actuality, we should see them as brothers and understand that life is lifing. And that turns people away. I really feel like we could do a lot better. And I'll be honest, I think
And
we
your
could.
answer is no.
No,
Your answer is
yeah, yeah.
there are
I was trying to
circumstances.
dance around it, but
There
I
are
don't think so.
circumstances where we're not. Your answer is there are
Not,
circumstances
no.
where we're not. And it's not to be perfect, man. I'm sure that there are some places
Stop dancing.
where
Stop
where
dancing.
fellowshipping is happening, man.
Yeah.
This isn't self glorification, but I know one of the things that I notice as I look at the landscape of my personal chapter, moving on, is we got a lot of fellowship going on in our chapter. And as a result, we got a lot of growth going. Now, it's frustrating, right? Because at fellowship, bros want to hang out and chill and talk. It's hard to get anything done, man, because everybody just want to spend time with each other and they want to hang out. And your natural inclination is, bros, I got stuff to do. Stop wasting my time. I got other things to do. Chill with the fellowship and do that someplace else so we can focus on this work that we got to get done here. And there's a healthy balance that's required. And the traveling that I've done, I've seen chapters that, man, even when they fellowship, it don't feel like fellowship. They hanging out together in like 6 different cliques of crews, and it's only 9 of them. How you have 6 crews and it's nine people hanging out? The work, check, we got it. For the people that want to do the work, they're gonna be here. But for the people that want to do the fellowshipping, I'd love to see what the comment section of this podcast says, but I don't think we got a check for that. I think the fellowship, in a lot of cases, for 80% of the chapters, could use a little bit of work. And what I want to do is I want to draw your attention to an interview.
Just real quick, can I just say real quick, and we'll do I want to get to that clip. I think another thing too is just like, I
want to point
I
to.
don't know if it's just like a bunch of men thing, but like maybe we need some like EQ classes or something. Like when you don't see someone for a long time, don't like. We always do this, like even if we're just joking, but I was like, at what point do we stop saying, good to see you, look who finally showed up? Like that don't get old. Like, like, can you use another line like, I'm so happy to see you? or
Yeah.
like, shit, what happened? Like, where have you been? Are you good in life? Like, are you
Is
good?
everything okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes I get old. You'd be like, good to see you, brother, brother so-and-so. And you're like, all right, I'm here. Like, you gonna take attendance?
I tell you one that I seen. Hey, welcome to the chapter. Hey, get with so and so to pay your dues. Like the
Oh, for
immediate
real? Oh, they
transition
passing
to
the hat
digging in your
around.
pocket.
They passed the hat.
Yeah. Yeah. We gonna pass the hat. We ain't seen you in forever, but every chapter meeting we got a need, so we gonna pass the hat. And here's the first ask. This is where we
I
welcome
know.
you.
I think, just generally like, and I think there's anything is like, prodigal son or whatever. It's like, I will say this. If you haven't been somewhere in a long time, to come back takes a lot of courage. You ain't been home a long. that's hard, right? Just anything like, dog, I haven't seen these people in forever. I could say even as an extrovert, it's anxiety provoking. And so to add on that and say, yep, as soon as I came back, exactly, the negative scenario that I played out in my head came true. I ain't coming back no more. It is not easy. It's not easy to come out, come back to something you haven't been in a while. And also, let's just be real. Oh, I'm an alpha. I don't care. Like I love the ones that say I bleed, through and through. But like, I'll tell you this right now. I have not been to another chapter meeting.
Oof.
I've only been to mine. Right?
Yeah.
So if I moved and went to a new town, I don't even know what that's like to go to another person's chapter meeting. I've never done it before.
I done did it
I've never done that
a couple
before.
times.
So
I done did it a couple
I don't know
times.
if
It's not
does
pleasant.
it feel awkward?
It's not pleasant.
That's what I'm saying. Is it awkward?
It's not pleasant.
Do you like who are they? People like, who are you? I've never done it.
Bro.
I've never experienced. I've only been to.
Bro, it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. I've done it a couple times, military dude. I've been a member of three chapters. It's not pleasant, bro. And I'm an extrovert. I'm very much an extrovert. I feel comfortable in just about any environment. I crossed here and in the chapter I'm in now, I moved to California. I ended up joining a chapter in California, which was a small chapter, which wasn't very active, trying to get back in the group. And they welcomed me with open arms, man. It was like homecoming. They ain't never met me before in their life. And I was like, damn, this is really awesome. But along with that, despite my responsibilities, because they weren't very active, the expectation was that I just get after the work. They were like, hey, we got 8 brothers here. You make 9. I need you to get all this work done. And that wasn't exactly welcoming because I was like, I fly planes for a living. So I'm trying to focus on that. And so I kept with that chapter. And then I joined another chapter that was a little closer to my hometown as well. So I was in the chapter here, the chapter in the area I was stationed, and then the chapter in my hometown, which was an hour away. I was in 3 chapters at one time. And that other chapter was so big, man. It was so big. I rode to the chapter meeting. The way we do chapter meetings here, I was Alpha Sharp. I had a suit and everything. I rolled in. They was in polos and jeans and alpha-nalia. So then I looked out of place. I don't even know. I didn't even know people's names. And they was like, who this bro looking like a pastor? Like,
Time out. There's chapter meetings where Pamas don't dress up. like I would have been in the suit too. Like, oh shit, no, that's different.
Yeah. So I showed up, Alpha Sharp. I showed up, suit, tie, everything, shoes, everything. Drove an hour to go to the chapter meeting. I get in a chapter meeting. They were meeting in at the time they have a house now, but at the time they were meeting in a high school or a college mock courtroom, and it was a bit of a challenge, man. Like everybody came in, everybody had their fellowship. Everybody had their inside jokes. Everybody was kind of having a conversation. I'm an extrovert, so I'm the weird guy in the corner, looking at a joke, trying to follow it along and go, oh, haha, and I'm laughing at the joke that I think I get. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I think I get the joke. I think I understand the joke. And then the dude is asking me, he's like, what you laughing at? And I was like, well, he just said this. You obviously meant this. And this is what you said. So I thought it was funny. He was like, yeah, you right, but you've been here for 16 minutes, man. Ain't nobody work. So I already just felt like, damn, I can't even laugh at a joke I worked so hard to understand, in this conversation. I go back to the point to say that it's not easy being the new guy. It's like reliving your first day of school. It's like going back to the first day of school and then reliving that every time you move to a whole different area. But the kids are meaner.
It's an experience.
You know what I'm saying? They're a little bit more ornery, and you understand what embarrassment is a little bit better than you did the first time you went to school. So
it's like I said, thank God I avoided that. I stayed in Virginia. I'm living in Virginia. Was it? My dad said, Virginia born, Virginia bred. When I die, I'll be Virginia dead.
Virginia dead.
I ain't going nowhere.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm staying in Virginia. And I say that in the sense of I now have the empathy. I never had to experience this, and then I go to all the things, Vacapath, and I meet brothers, and these are I don't have to reintroduce myself. And so I don't know what that feels like. But now from your story, I've always thought about going out of town and just checking out a chapter meeting. If I'm ever in Chicago, let me just I'm never going to do that junk now. For what?
Bro, you got to do it.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to anyone else's chapter meeting ever.
It's worth the
I'm saying
effort.
this right now. I'm going to conventions. I'm going to conventions, and I'm going to things, to meet. I'm never going to another chapter meeting of someone other chapter after your story. That is like my worst socially awkward fear of all time is walking in, one, over or underdressed, but most times I'm like underdressed because I don't know how to dress. And two,
Oh, come on, bro.
as you said, like sitting in the corner laughing because I'm socially awkward. I mean, in a funny way. But I'd probably laugh at that joke too, and then I'd probably double down and just make it worse. Like, that's not funny.
Hey,
okay,
man, I have
later.
no shame. I have no shame, man. But I
Yeah, I
just
would
think
double down on that.
I enjoy going to other chapter meetings because I get to appreciate what I have where I am right now. A little bit more when I see, things that I don't like. But then it also opens my mind to the idea that things can be done better. Not all brothers are the same.
Yeah, but to that point, I think your scenario says that's another one about the thing that we need to think about for reclamation is that scenario could happen to so many brothers. Like they're
Yeah.
moving and then they got to start over again, start in a new subculture, which is every chapter. And once again, it's hit or miss. You can go to that one jump, they welcome you with open arms, say, thank God you're here. Or you go to the other one and say, who are you?
Yeah.
Who is
And
this guy?
and
Whose
every
mess is
chapter got
this?
that bruh, man, that it don't matter what you say, it's not gonna be good enough. Everybody got that bro, and then you got to tame that dude. To my point in saying, hey, I went to a couple of different chapter meetings. Really, what I was beating around to is the idea that sometimes it takes some of these chapters a while to grow on you. That chapter, by the time I left that area that I felt hella awkward in, in the first, meeting or two, I just kept going. I just was like, I'm gonna go to this meeting. I'm gonna keep
I was about to
doing.
say, okay, I'm gonna say that to it. That's a good point. Like, that they say, well, I did it. What drove you to go back again after that awkward meeting?
I
What
believe in
drove you to go
me.
back and say, I'm
I
not coming
believe in
back?
me. I believe in me. Like I know I'm fun to hang out with. I know I'm a good dude. I know, hey, I just really believe in me, man. Like if you come into contact with me and you don't like me, it's something wrong with you. It ain't me. I'm sorry, man. I'm fun, damn it. Hey, if you're looking at this podcast right now, listening to this podcast right now, and you hang out with me, you're gonna have a good time. I ain't judging. That's just it. And I know myself well enough to not be mad if somebody else doesn't feel that way. I mean, and I may not be for everybody, So I just kept going back because it was call it arrogance, call it whatever. I just never thought that the problem was me. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to the chapter meeting and I was like, well, I mean, that's cool. That dude had a bad day or he had a bad week or he's just square. He don't understand, whatever. And I just kept showing up. And then I found like 2 or 3 bruhs that like understood the wavelength I was vibrating on. I still talk to those bruhs to this day, man. Like when I go back home, I still check in with them. That's like to the level that we definitely vibrate. It's not fair.
You're just basically saying, I earned this space, as a brother, I'm a brother everywhere. And
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to let one bad meeting dictate, almost like let them win. I sometimes had that confidence too. Like
it's no them. Here's a mess up. It's no them. It's just me. Like you got to think the way I look at the world, bro. This ain't your podcast right now. This is my podcast right now. This isn't my made for TV movie on your podcast. That's the way my brain chooses life. And so I go into this chapter and this is part of a montage of my made for TV movie before I win the whole chapter over. I really believe that walking into that situation. Not everybody is that stubborn. Not everybody feels that same way about that particular situation. And that's the difference. Like some people claim they have the alpha type personality and the first time they come in opposition, they gonna back down. That ain't exactly me, man. And so that you asked the question, what pushed me to keep going ahead? I don't think I really truly believed that the problem was ever me. I don't think I ever got to a point where it was like, oh, they didn't like me. I was just like, damn, that guy had a bad day.
I see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be back. And also, I think that like I said, I think that's intrinsic. And I think maybe as I said this too, maybe growing alpha. Like now, I'm joking now. Like I wouldn't go to another chapter meeting. But I'm 7 years in. I'm an alpha. Like if someone's like, check on me, like it's almost like I earned my stripes and my time. That I'm not gonna let one brother out alpha me out of a space. Like I earned my space. I earned my spot in this space. But I think we can go with the reclamation part, where I think there's some people that didn't feel like they earned that space or had that same confidence
I got a
that
question
you
for
have.
you that I didn't talk to you about before we came into this podcast. So I'm about to surprise you with this, man. We
Yeah,
talk about reclamation, and we looked at the numbers, kind of figuring that 35% of brothers are doing 100% of the work for Alpha, at least on the books. Do we want to reclaim the other 65%? Who's to say that the other 65%, or the people who aren't active, are really worth reclaiming in the first place? That's the bro that was only going to show up to the party. That's the bro that only got letters so he can get that girl he was looking for on campus. That's the bro who is a political figure and is just looking for the letters to make his political career a little bit better. Who's to say, and that's me playing devil's advocate, but who's to say that we need to reclaim all these brothers? And who's to say that we need to
I
put it?
say to keep. I don't say we need to. I think we should make a wholeheartedly attempt to be welcoming. And like, let me rephrase this. Also, you said that was the brother that was, right? Thinking like maybe in that space when they crossed, they was the brother. But who's to say in the space when we try to reclaim them that they're that same person? Life may have changed them, and maybe they're not the party person anymore, and they're like pretty dope at doing community service. Like we're missing out on people that are amazing people.
I
People
love that
grow, people
positivity.
change.
You're saying that people
So
change.
no,
People change.
yeah, so like we're making an assumption. Like I partied a lot in college. You probably wouldn't want to reclaim me or think I should be in the house at 25. I'm being totally honest. But the person I was at 33 years old when I crossed in 2017 was someone that was doing better and was a different person, a person that had grown, a person that came to Alpha as a new person. No, when I say new person, came to it with, I am ready to do service. So to your question, I think we should make it like, do we need to reclaim that 60%? No, we don't. We don't need to do anything, right? Like we got people doing the work, but should we make a genuine effective and thoughtful try? Yes, because we never know those people that where they are now, and we could be, let's say, losing talent, losing great brothers that can contribute immensely to our chapter based on who we thought they were back in the day. We don't know how they changed. Once again, it's that lack of conversation saying, how are you? What are you up to? What are you doing? We will notice that maybe that brother is not just a party person anymore. He has changed like doing amazing things because we listen. And now he is ready to be doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Because we listen. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want? That value proposition. Like, what do you want to get out of it? So that's my question. That's my question. I mean, my answer is try. We don't need nothing though. We don't need nobody.
This is the part of my made for TV movie where the dramatic "you're wrong" music plays because I was just wrong. You know what I mean? Like you answer that
Oh, they
question.
say, do the 90s jump when you walk in the room awkwardly. You know what
It'd
I'm
be
saying?
like dun dun dun. You was okay. No, but
Yeah, that
I
one.
say you saying people change, and it's not about who people were. It's about who people are, and people constantly evolve to be a better version of themselves. And so the reclamation effort in most cases is really about what can you offer today, not based on past actions, but what can you give the organization today. So I rock with
In a
that.
spiritu, in a spiritu day for in a spiritu day fraternity today.
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
the keyword is today,
today
not like yeah,
fraternity.
today.
Yeah, today.
Yeah, today.
No,
Today. And
I'm
also I think like this too. But here's the thing though, on the flip side, when your reclamation efforts are not genuine, guess what people do view it as? A money grab, right? So to that point of need, have you ever noticed like this? Like when you're desperate, let's say like you do things out of character, right? Like you say you need something, like I need a job. Then you start doing like desperate things like, cold calling people, things that are just like kind of somewhat could be off-putting, right? Because you're desperate. So if you're not coming from a despo meter and genuinely want, interactions or want people, people can see the genuineness. Because I will say this, if I got robocalled every day saying, come back to Alpha, I'm like, why are they robocalling me? Like the automatic, telemarketer. I'll say it's because they probably want money. And once again, this is not specific to Alpha. Think about this as we think about alumni. I work at higher ed in college, right? And people are always like, I don't feel engaged. I don't feel connected to my college anymore. And the only time the college calls me is when they want me to give on giving day, as opposed to thinking about being an engaged alum, which I'm now more engaged, where there's opportunities to like mentor or go back to campus and like mentor students and really give back. And once again, genuine fellowship, at homecoming. That's the difference. That's the very strong connection. That's kind of like Alpha. Like when people can see genuine, like, oh, they want me to come back to homecoming. They want me to come back to my university, or, oh, they just call me for a check.
And so what you
They
just
only call
talked
me on
about,
giving day.
you talked about value. You just talked about value
Yeah.
again. You just said, I want to feel valued. You said, I want to feel like there is value that I can receive from having the opportunity to get there. So I had the opportunity to chat with someone who's really important to me in terms of my Alpha career, someone who kind of pointed me to Alpha. And I want to show his video clip right now just to kind of have a conversation about some of his points. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen.
Yeah, I spent a period of time not active. I honestly just got active again last year, and I need to pay my dues for this year, just to be candid. Um, so when I was no longer active, um, I well, let me back up. So after graduating, I was active in the fraternity for a period of years. My career after graduating was hospitality, and I became a general manager of a restaurant, which the schedule was insane. I was the only manager for a time period, and so really I pulled back from a lot of things, to be honest, including Alpha, just to kind of manage that schedule and then kind of figure that out. And then honestly, I fell out the habit of showing up to chapter meeting, things like that. I don't know if at the time we had like a reclamation committee, but it became easy to just not go to meetings, and what caused me to get back active last year was a lot of my friends left. I truly love Alpha. My father's an Alpha, my uncle's an Alpha. I miss the work of Alpha. I miss the camaraderie and the brotherhood, and so really, I gave myself permission to get back active in the frat. I'm also a father. My daughter's young, she's 5. And so, kind of navigating after the whole restaurant thing, navigating having a young daughter, being a young dad, we're removed from our family. So, it took a while to navigate that before I felt like I was in a place where I would be comfortable with taking time away from family responsibilities and really doing something that benefits me.
So we're back to a little bit of that value proposition again. Hey, I leave college. I'm gonna go into my occupation, and then I fall out of the habit of going to chapter meetings. Like life is life, and as you kind of communicated. And then we had to get to a place where we missed for me to say, hey, I need to get back to a place where this holds enough importance in my life that I'm gonna pay for it again. That's kind of how I kind of see that. And full disclosure, that brother there is the reason I became an Alpha. You know what I mean? Like I met that bro. I saw the work he was doing. I'm a 27-year-old dude who's active duty military, and I'm looking at how committed he is to his chapter and the work they're doing over there at Howard University. And I'm like, damn, I know I've traveled the world. I know I make decent money. I know I'm going to do some great things. But here's a person who's younger than me who's doing more things to benefit the state of Black men, and I need to fix myself. And just looking at the commitment that person put out into the world, and I'm a whole active duty military member, and that brought me to Alpha to hear him say, hey, life was just lifing for me. And I know that we had two totally different situations. I haven't broken, my time in Alpha, but my life was significantly different. I wasn't worried about finances. I wasn't worried about, hey, my kids, by the time I meet this dude, I got 2 kids and they're maybe that time they're 6 and 12, 6 and 13. You know what I mean? So they're at a point where I'm already at a place he's talking about where I'm comfortable stepping away, you know? I say that to say, just reiterating on that value proposition that, one, we got to get the value proposition correct. 2, we need to recognize that brothers have different phases in their life that are going to take them away. And here's a person who I saw and believe was like alpha zealot, at least on campus, removing the devil's advocate I played earlier. Just a person who was like, this is what I'm going to do until the day I die, life and has a huge effect, and we need to take that into consideration.
And I was like, almost like, I think sometimes we have to understand some brothers carry shame about it. But I was like, why? When you're ready to come back, you come back. And then I loved his story about like, I wanted to be there as a father. That was a priority. Get my restaurant. I got to work crazy hours. And now I'm ready. And I think that we need to be more understanding of that and think of like, okay, when someone's ready, they're ready. And embrace that and think about, okay, now we got that energy. And I think I love that too, is like thinking about, as I said, people put their foot on the gas, like that was his space. That was his time. That he was meant to be the man at Howard. He was meant to take a break, and he's now at a different phase, right? You never, like, I bet he's like doing phenomenal things that he can contribute, right? So I really like that. I'm glad that you brought that one up, of someone that was like doing it, took a break, and is coming back, right? We need to see more stories like that and really, humanize that and de-shame that, destigmatize that. Because I think there's still a lot of stigma like, oh, you're back. No, you're back when you want it to be. Great. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that kind of dialogue we need to have. Can we get to one more clip though? And then, because I want to get brother Shelton's clip.
Go ahead.
Just one more clip and then we'll do the construction part. I just want to show one more clip. Dr. Sheldon Tate, we had a conversation, and I think he came up to me and was like, my line brothers and I had this conversation together about wanting to get back involved. And it was almost like, yeah.
This is the discussion. We all started from the same spot from the standpoint of, we were told, you got to get your feet under you. You got to figure out life. You got to know where you're going. And once you get those things done, the desire, the expectation is that Alpha's not just a bleep on the radar of your life, that you find a way to be active in the community just as much as we were active on campus. And so I think that the best way to answer the question about challenges and where we sort of were circling around is just, I don't know that life gets easier, right? So if part of the consternation is around, as soon as things get simple, once I get to a certain salary or a certain position, then this free time that I have, or the discretionary time, I'll be able to sort of allocate that effectively. I've never seen that. That doesn't work in my life. And I think part of what we were discussing is just the reality that that's not the case for anybody.
I don't want to share the whole thing, but I was thinking to that point, and I think one of the things that drew me to connect that was that on the inverse, it could be contradictory to the last clip, because the gentleman said, I had my kids, I had this, I'm ready now. But to brother Tate's point, he was like, but then let's be real, life be life. It's always going to be something like, okay, I finally finished my doctorate. Well, now you a dean of a college. There's something that's always just going to fill time. And I don't know if anyone's ever going to be ready, And I think maybe it combines it. It has to be this like centric thought, like, I am ready now. I have kids, but I'm ready now. I have a job promotion, but I'm ready now. Something's always going to be added.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a both and. I think that
what I got out of that Tate from Tate, yeah. Brother Tate's response was a little different. I got from Brother Tate, the time's never going to be perfect, is what I got from Brother Tate's response. And I got from my brother Allen's response, I got that I found the time where I was ready. Like, and those are two totally different situations. One is I have so much stuff, I don't have any time to give to Alpha. I have so many responsibilities. I don't have time to give anything else to anyone else. And then there's also the person, somebody's waiting for the perfect time to jump back in, and the perfect time's not coming. It's not going to get easier. And some people are like, I recognize the stresses that I have and I can manage these stresses, you know?
So I think it's weird. It's like this weird combination because maybe it's like, you know, I always joke. I was like, was my life easier in college than it is now? But that's relative, right? Like maybe,
9 times out of 10
you
answer to
know,
that is absolutely.
yeah, of course. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Would you really go back in the time machine, right? And you think time, like where you are, it's like being in the present. And so, like, you're right. Like, I can't wait. Like, let's say I do, like, oh, I'm gonna be super engaged when my kids finally go to college and I'm an empty nester. That's when I'll be engaged in alpha. But then what if I, like, get hurt, like, or have don't live healthy. And I waited till like my kids went to college. And then when I finally have an empty nest, I get in the car, like you're right. You can never wait for a perfect time
But
because something's going to happen.
there's always time to do something, right? So you got
Yeah.
little kids, you don't have time to make the chapter meeting, you don't make time to you don't got time to, do every single event or chair a committee. Maybe you have time to, identify when the next time they pass the hat around and you could kick $100 into the hat. Or maybe you can't make everything, but you're like, look, I know Martin Luther King, as far as Alphas is concerned, is a big deal. I'm gonna block that time off on my calendar and I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna use my social media presence, because everybody makes time for social media despite how important things are going on in their life, right? So I'm gonna use my social media presence to just bring credit upon the fraternity and show the work that those guys are doing. You may not have the time or the ability to be everything, but the thing is, I think that the thin line is you have the time to do something.
Yeah. Like you said, maybe just go to a convention, or you can, yeah, I think so.
Make one
I
soup
agree.
kitchen. You can make a soup kitchen. You not financially active. You ain't did XYZ. You really still give a little bit about the community. You can make the soup kitchen. Or you know what? Hey, I'm a brother who I just want to let my hair down sometimes. I got kids, I got a wife, and I just want to get away. So I'm gonna make the 2 social events that these brothers make a year. I'm gonna make 2 social events a year in fellowship with these bros. Or maybe I'm just gonna join. I'm gonna follow them on social media, or I'm gonna join the group chat, and I'm gonna be in a group chat. There's something that you can do, and it's not gonna always 100% be paying 100% of the dues or making all of the events, but figure out what your something is, and maybe do. We have a brother in my chapter who is going through some serious health complications. And while he's going through his serious health complications, he can't be at all the meetings. He can't go to all the events. He can't. And our meetings are, a lot of them are on Zoom, but he has relationships where he has made connections so that we can benefit as a chapter from those particular connections. And they've been huge in some of the programs that we have moving forward. And we see him at the events where he's delivering the products that he helped us make the connection for. And that's incredibly valuable. That's enough. I'm confident that our brother is financial, but if he wasn't, that would still be enough.
But no, I love that point that you said, and what I really truly love about your point is that, like, I think that goes to like further on that point to what Brother Tate was saying, was that, like, if I'm living the precepts, if I'm living the ideals, if I'm living scholarship, does that mean I'm more or less, but not active? Does that mean more or less I'm still a brother, or I'm still an alpha, and am I still engaged? And I think, to your point and that other example, the answer is yes. You don't need to pay dues. I think about like being an educator, and like you're a professor and you got mentorship opportunities. Maybe you're not officially a chapter advisor, but you've mentored many countless alpha students at your prospective institution, right? You know, that you're just as valuable as an advisor. You help them in the classroom with their education or mentorship. So I think we also need to have that reframing too, of meeting people where they are and saying, you know what, you are still doing the work. Like, just because you ain't cut me no check doesn't make you any less than a brother.
And
And
selfishly,
so
I don't want to contradict anything that I've said before, but being selfish, I ask myself, Why join a brotherhood to not be a brother?
Are you saying that? Let me play devil's advocate to that. Are you saying why join a brotherhood to not be an active brother and pay dues, or just be brotherly
Be
and
brother.
be
Yeah, I ain't talking about
engaged? And
dues. I'm still that's standing. I'm not talking about paying dues. I'm saying like,
also, I get that. No, yeah,
hey,
I'm totally on board on
I'm
that
joining a
too.
brotherhood for the fellowship and the camaraderie and the connection. And then as soon as I get my letters and a year passes and the first tough time happens, I turn into a hermit. I just don't think going back to my
That part,
original argument
that
is
part.
the value is what's important. And I think that we can agree that just about everybody at least tells us when they join the organization that they want to be a brother. And your something could include, the things we talked about before, but maybe there's value in recognizing that being a brother is why you got here in the first place, and having people that you can look to your left and your right for is what got you here in the first place. Doesn't cost anything
I thought about this.
except
I
time, a
thought
little
about
time.
that. Yeah, I thought about that too. Like, I don't think there's going to be ever a point that I'm a complete hermit from the fraternity. What I mean by that, I don't know. There might be a space in my life I don't go to any chapter meeting or anything like that, but someone's going to hear from Brother Wilkerson or some. And when I say that, there's be some presence of me on Alpha in Alpha, like not just a social media post, but like a real maybe chop it up with someone. I'm in your town. I'm in Norfolk. Let me just chop it up with a brother. I'll think there's never going to be a time in my life where I'll be completely disconnected from the fraternity. I will say that though, it might not be in the formal sense, but I do agree with you. Like, I did not join this to just not have it as in that part chart, at least 5%, like at the
Yeah,
lowest, some inkling of my life.
right.
But I've met there's people out there that would probably, can go a whole 50, 20 years. You didn't even know they were a brother. They don't even talk about it no more.
I did that one time back in college, and it was dope. Oh yeah, I forgot. By the way, this is my shingle or whatever the
Oh,
case.
yeah, that one. Oh, yeah. I was about to say. You see that case? I've seen that.
Really?
I've seen I've seen it where it was like, you know, um, a young lady, I'm not putting her, she's like, yeah, my dad's an alpha, but then come to find out like T chart or whatever. And he just never talks about it. But then he did bring it back up when his daughter crossed Delta. Meaning like he could have gone his whole life, but his daughter brought him back in. His daughter brought him back out talking about it. You know, but that whole middle from college to her, like
To
from
her
his college
college?
years
Yeah.
to her college, it wasn't a part of his life no more.
Yeah, it's wild. But I'd love to take this time now to talk a little bit about the constructive side. So we've talked a little bit about the value proposition. We've talked about life be life, and we've heard from some brothers, and we've kind of expounded on a couple of different ideas as to what may be the issue. What advice would you have for, what advice do you have for the brothers to go ahead and fix this problem, or what constructive advice do you have to make this better?
I was about to say macro to micro. I think micro is see something, say something. Meaning like I think one of the best ways to feel engaged is not on some mass level, like mass email, mass. It's like literally getting engagement one on one from other individuals. I think I'm very fortunate that we have, like I said, not everyone is in touch with their LBs, but ours is like we're still talking to each other. And like, shout out to my tail. He'd be like, y'all good? He'd just be randomly popping up and checking on all of us, you know what I'm saying? And like, hey, we're going to this, anyone else going to this? And it's like that personal one-on-one connection. So I think, I would challenge everyone on a micro level. If you're an active brother and you haven't seen someone for a while, check on them. I don't know. That seems very low maintenance, but just check on them. Pop up on them. Put eyes on them. I think that one-on-one connection is really impactful. And I think number two, if you get any welcoming brother in any space, be normal and welcome that person to that space. If someone comes to your chapter meeting for the first time, Be mindful of your language to that said brother. Like, you literally are the first person they interact. They make assumptions based on that space, based on first impressions. So if it's not welcoming, they are not coming back again. Point blank, period. How you doing? Thank you for being here today. Now, even if it was like, even if I didn't know you, and I think about that, like, don't tell that, deference. If you laughed at that joke, I ain't gonna say like, what you laughing at, but like, dang, it is kind of funny. Lighten it up. Be lighten up. Think about every interaction with that. It's almost a small instances of kindness. Let's not underestimate that, right? You never see those like very like dramatic commercials. You help that girl, you saved her life and all that. I'm not gonna go as far as dramatic as that, but I'll say that one interaction or that comment really did make someone active or not after 5 years. I've heard so many times where a brother said, I went to a happy hour and the guy next to me was so nice, I joined the chapter that day. They brought me back after being absent for 13 years. Very impactful, but all that guy did was, hey, you want a drink? Like, just being nice, being normal. People underestimate kindness. So I say, if you're doing anything that brings people to your space that are new, make sure that they feel welcome. They are brothers. They earn their letters. They deserve to come to that meeting and laugh at your corny jokes. And so those are my 2 things.
I think the value proposition for me for brothers is huge, and people come back to Alpha for a lot of different reasons. There are so many ways to create value for brothers, in my opinion. And what I've kind of seen in some of these reports, some of the interviews we had, again, be lifing. It takes a lot of courage to come back to Alpha, and I think that if I were to give brothers watching this, the idea is recognize that you could be the value that someone sees when they come back to the fold. Just the interaction that you have with the person in and of itself may be enough of the value for a person to kind of move forward with getting back into the fold. And the other piece that I have for that same set of brothers is recognizing that I believe a larger number of brothers join for the brotherhood than any other purpose. And if that's the case, finding ways to bring back that connection, that safe space, that environment, especially as African American men, we talked about earlier, you don't have a lot of spaces where you just feel comfortable in. Some of these guys are high level professionals who are one of one in a space, and they just want to go to where they feel like one of the boys. And some of the people are aspiring to improve their lives, and guess what they want as well? I think they want to be one of the boys and an opportunity to fellowship and grow their lives, maybe. So I think that one of the biggest value propositions that you can make for a brother walking out of this conversation, if you stuck with us this far, is to strongly consider that not the chapter president, not the organization as a whole, not somebody else. No one's coming to save you. You are there to get that brother to see that, hey, we're welcoming you back and we want to be around you. And I think that that's the big piece. Now, if you were to...
I'm smiling ear to ear, and I'm smiling ear to ear because I was like, yo, dog, I'll be honest, like, if you asked me that, jump, I think that I would say brotherhood was my number one thing, right? Just feeling that I could text you and joke, but also like, I need help with this. That is a intangible, immeasurable, can't put a price tag feeling, an actual feeling that we're all chasing. I'm smiling because I was like, I feel like I got it. So I feel like I'm getting my value add, right?
Right.
If you said, do I feel like I got brothers and do I feel like I'm getting a value add in brotherhood? I, Philip Wilkerson, feel it. So that's why don't feel like I need to be reclaimed. I feel like I'm getting my value proposition. And so I hope that this conversation allows people to get to that space and get connected and feel that. Because it does feel good. Even in like I said, even, the town of 2, I got brothers there, but like, I'm just thinking about very personal instances, like losing my father-in-law. I may have been alone, but I was never lonely. I repeat that. Like, I may have been alone, but I was never lonely. That's brotherhood. I never felt the sense of lonely and isolation. I could be lonely in a space physically, but I'm never alone. And that is something, I mean, if I'm rich, I wouldn't put a price tag on. And that's what this brotherhood gives me. And I think that some brothers are not getting that. They're not getting their value add on that. They're getting shortchanged. They're getting shortchanged on brotherhood. point blank period.
Yeah. The brotherhood is the big value. Give me one question that you would ask. Let's say you could form a panel, sit right in front of the national organization, and what question would you ask that would lead them towards a solution to that 70,000 versus 200,000 problem that the national website is communicating?
That's a good one. I would say beyond membership and money, why do we really need to solve this and see what they say? Because I would wonder if they're thinking about like, value proposition, if the word of lack of brotherhood comes out of that conversation. And because that's the real like crisis in my mind. It's not the number. I don't think it's the number of dues left on the, like money left on the table. It is the crisis of Black men feeling disconnected and isolation and unbrotherliness. And that's the real problem. And I would want to see if they see that. Like, I would say almost like, why do we need to reclaim brothers? And see if the word like lack of brotherhood comes out of that. More so like if they're hitting on the themes of like, because we want people to feel like connected to other Black men. That's why we need to do this. We want brothers to feel uplifted. We want brothers to, the brotherly stuff. We want them to get that value proposition. That's why they need to be reclaimed. As opposed to like, we need them to be reclaimed to do work. Or, or we need more manpower, stuff like that. Because then I'm like, because then if an organization says it anything other than brotherly, then their approach is going to reflect that. Like they say, we need this for more manpower, then someone's going to realize that when they're being approached to be manpower.
Right.
Rather than like, the real problem is we need, the brotherliness. Oh, they're approaching me because they want, we have an isolation problem for Black men. We need to bring them into spaces and uplift and help them. I mean, because I'll be honest, like we already know mental health is real. And I think that like this is a real concrete way that Alpha can contribute to that, right? Mental health and all that stuff. Having people to check in on you is going to at least help get you to spaces for better mental health. We need to talk to people. We need to have spaces, like I said, for Black men for our mental health. Brother, I think like they say laughter is the best medicine. I think brotherhood is a good medicine. Like, if you think about it. And so that'd be my one question. Why do we need to reclaim them? And I would actively listen to what they say in response. What would be yours? I like that. What would you ask them?
I would ask, in your top 3 initiatives, what value does that bring to the brotherhood? And does that change if said brother is not financially and temporally active? Because if you want to reclaim more brothers and the value that you provide to all the brothers is like a existential value, like it's just a value for everybody, no matter where they are in Alpha Land and who they are, and everyone can benefit from it at all times. Does it really meet your desire of bringing more people back to the fold? The other piece is, if we look at those top 3 priorities and realize that they're not really promoting value for the brotherhood, but maybe promoting value for an initiative of the brotherhood, then maybe some consideration could be given to focusing on the root of the issue, if the national organization sees it as an issue. For all I know, this is just something we pulled off of the website. It may not be really an issue. It may not even be an issue. Maybe no problem whatsoever. The 70,000 is enough. Military thinking, a lot of times we begin with the end in mind. What is it I'm trying to accomplish? Do I want a stronger brotherhood? Yes. Okay. Define stronger. Is stronger more? Is stronger better qualified the few? Is stronger more products with the same amount of people? Is stronger just throw out the old and bring in new brothers who are going to be strong? Like, what does strong mean? And then once I define what strong is, then now everything else feeds into that. Am I exhibiting myself in a way that's attractive to strong people? Do I have programs? Am I showing programs that attract strong people? Am I training the organization to make the weaker people stronger? Am I providing value to each of the chapters to reward strength? It's those smaller ideas, and I'd have the question as to does the end align with the goals?
If Alpha did not change in 5 years after we had this conversation, and you looked on the website and it's the same exact thing, would you be disappointed?
For me, no.
Me neither.
For me, no.
I was gonna
I
say,
don't
but go ahead. Why would you not be?
individually see reclamation as an issue. We picked this topic because it was at the time, it was the conversation of the moment. I don't need there to be 800,000 alphas. I like a smaller number, makes me feel more special. And I, again, this is like one of those weird made for TV movies where I feel like the world revolves to me around me in a lot of different ways. And the way that I've been able to move around Alpha is because of how connected I feel with the brotherhood at large. Like I could meet a brother, I could meet a brother online in a moment and then get to a point in a relationship where I could reach out to a pretty prominent brother and have a real dialogue and start to form a real relationship. You give me 800,000 brothers and I become less special, that'd be a little bit more difficult. So if Alpha didn't change from where it is right now, me personally, I'd be fine with it. I'd be like, all right, well, we tried.
I love that too, because I was about to say, I mean, this is my egocentric thinking too. Is like, if I stay in my lane, my experience is good. That's how bad. That's how bad to say. Like,
Yeah.
I got good relationships with my LBs. You know, my wife didn't leave me when I pledged when she had a second baby, and I thought she was gonna leave me every day I was online. Like so, like, hey, I'm in
Mm-hmm.
here. You know, I wouldn't have paid my money to be a life member if I didn't. You know, like I'm good. And so I think I don't know. It's like interesting to say. It's like I think it always pulls back to is like, maybe is it a problem? Is it not? I don't know. I think we just want to have dialogue about being more welcoming. But honestly, I mean, I'd I'd be okay if everything is like as it is, which is a weird thing to say.
I'd be okay if the numbers went down. Me personally, I'd be okay. But I know that there's a financial aspect of that keeps the whole organization going, and that's necessary. And if the numbers got to a point where I couldn't have the larger organization, I wouldn't be okay. I wouldn't be okay with that. But I'm okay with if we just made the rent at the end of the month and we could keep that going perpetually, I'd be okay.
And also, I think the only thing I would say from this dialogue, if the needle did not change, or the numbers didn't change, as long as the people within feel more brotherly, that's where I'd be disappointed. So once again, if we had this conversation and none of the numbers or reclamation changed, whatever, that's what it is. But if we had your example where you go to more meetings like you just went to, and that didn't change, then I would be disappointed. Does that make sense? Like, I was like, I was like, man, it's still happening. Like, that's the part. I'm like, that's still happening.
Yeah.
People going to you still acting like people can't just go to chapter meetings and meet new people, or once again, like every time someone comes up and says, "Good to see you here." If that's still happening in 5 years, then I'd be disappointed because that's old.
It's gonna happen though, because there's gonna be like 19 people who get to listen to or watch this podcast, and of those 19 people, 80-20 rule applies. So, what's the number of that, man? 4 people go do the work.
How about this, man? Let's get to 30-70 doing work. How about that? That's what I want. That's one of my.
We're at 37. We're currently at 35% doing the work.
Okay,
right
let's get to 40
as a national organization.
40%.
Okay, I like 40.
I want to move the needle a little bit. That's what I want to say.
I want brothers. I want brothers to realize, and it's crazy because we always try to throw more brothers at every problem, right? We go, well, we got 100 brothers and only 40 are doing the work. It's the same 40 bros, and you like 40 bros out of 100 is more than 20%. You're above the 80-20 rule. Keep it pressing. Be happy with those 40. Let's go. Because corporate America ain't got that. Your numbers are better. And if we can keep this fellowship going and I can keep solving these problems in a safe environment and having fun while I do it and enjoy the people that I do it with, we going to be all right no matter what this thing look like.
See comments. I want to see how this dialogue shows up. I want to see. I'm just interested. Maybe we're going to do another part. But there's been a great conversation. And I want to say, one, thank you to all the brothers that were, we inserted clips. Thank you for being vulnerable and allowing us opportunity to record you. Greatly appreciate that. As we said,
And if we didn't get to a clip, it's not that we hated your clip. It's just there was a lot to unpack and jump into everybody's clip. And I think I had 3 more clips
me
that we
too.
didn't touch, or 2
I
more
had
clips we
one
didn't
more
touch.
clip. That means we got to do a
And maybe
part
that's a
2.
conversation. Maybe so. Maybe that's what we do.
Yeah, we just got to make sure when we do the
But
part
cool.
2, we're inversely and use clips of the brothers that we didn't use. You know what I'm saying? Like,
All right, Phil. So you got to put a bow on this thing, man. Let's put a bow on this thing. Wrap it up. And what do you want the viewers to do next?
If there's the Positive Filter podcast, I'd be remiss to say that I dedicated every episode to the memory of my father-in-law, Jeff Kirsch. So please consider donating to the Jeff Kirsch Anti-Hunger Fund. And if you're a part of the Mason community, please consider submitting a patch for Patriot. That's just it. But also, Brother Bonner, I would also be remiss if I don't do my normal thing on my podcast saying shout outs and plugs. If there's anyone that you want to show love to, let us know. And then also plugs, things that you want to elevate to the listeners that I put in the show notes.
Shout out to my wife who allows me to do stuff like this, even while we had this 1.5-hour conversation. I don't know what's going to get edited down to, but it was a whole 1 hour and 45 minutes that we were chopping it up. That's time I didn't get to spend with my wife. And in addition to that, I'm probably doing fraternity stuff as well. So shout out to her. Shout out to her for giving me the time and the space and this amazing room where I get to shoot these videos and stuff like that. I'm probably absolutely the biggest cheerleader that I have. And that's my shout out. My family, I would give the rest of my family a shout out, but not today. I just want my wife to have her moment here on the Positive Filter podcast. And things I want to big up. I'm trying to build a social media following, guys. I like talking to people. I love having these conversations. So you can see me on King Siri 06 on Instagram. Reach me out there. Let me know what you think. You hear this, just join in, jump in some of the conversation or pose your questions. I'll shoot a video for just about anything. So give me some love there. Let's interact. Let's have a conversation. Let's have more difficult conversations. That's all I got.
So much. Hopefully, brothers, this is a great conversation. Please comment. Let us know. We're very accessible. We'd love to engage with the brotherhood and see how you think about that. And if you disagree, let us know you disagree. We want to hear all that. We want to hear all the dialogue because conversations like this need to be had. Have a great night. 06 to the good bros, and thank you to all the listeners of Positive Filter.